Welcome to Khari Free at Last. I'm Khari Inahara. A Florida jury acquitted George Zimmerman of charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter in the February 2012 shooting death of Trayvon Martin, unleashing debates across the U.S. over the issues of racial profiling, self-defense, and justice. Joining us to sort this out are TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow and Charles Traylor, and the Reverend John Coates, Executive Director of the Ohio Right to Life. Trayvon Martin, Reverend Coates, I'll start with you. As a man of the cloth, was the verdict correct or was it incorrect?
The verdict was incorrect.
Why?
Because George Zimmerman was guilty of pursuing and killing an innocent African-American male.
Innocent African-American male. What made him innocent?
What made him innocent is that he had not committed a crime. What made him innocent is that he was walking home on his way home from a store.
And what message did this verdict send, Earth Jallow?
That black life is practically worthless.
What do you mean?
Racial profiling is a very real issue. And Trayvon Martin was racially profiled.
Well, according to the trial, they said he was not racially profiled.
Well, I don't care what the trial said. Common sense, he was racially profiled.
How did you get to the point that he was racially profiled?
The young man was unarmed. He was not committing a crime. He had Skittles and a tea in his hand, walking back to his father's home where he belonged. He was in a neighborhood where he belonged, and he wasn't bothering anybody. He wasn't on anybody's property. He wasn't caught coming out of somebody's window. He wasn't caught coming out of somebody's back door with goods in his hand. What was he doing besides minding his business and walking home?
What message does the verdict send, Charles Traylor? What does it say about the justice system, and what does it say about the value of black life?
Well, one of the things about the verdict is that the verdict was given based on the trial starting at the struggle, and not at the point where Trayvon Martin was being followed, pursued by George Zimmerman, and George Zimmerman on the phone talking to police saying he's a thug and they always getting away with stuff. The verdict sends a very strong message that in America it seems that the only people that don't get a jury of their peers are African Americans.
That's shocking. You mean to tell me there were no black people on that jury, Reverend John Coates?
There was one black lady, half black lady, quarter black lady on.
But we're not sure. Are we sure?
We're not sure. We're
Hispanic.
not sure. In fact, the media was unsure about who the anonymous jurors were, but we did know is that the majority of the jurors were white females. And just maybe these white females might have viewed George Zimmerman as being their protector.
Has been their hero.
Wow.
And so as a result, they didn't want to give him up. They felt he was protecting them. Is that what you're saying?
He was acquitted.
And what they said was that, I draw parallels to the O.J. Simpson trial when they said that if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. In this case, they said, if he got hit, you must acquit.
But they found him innocent. They found him not guilty. Why, you know, I've watched the trial, you watched it. Why aren't y'all satisfied with the verdict?
Because I don't feel like it was a true verdict. I feel like...
It was a true verdict.
I feel as if we have been slapped in the face. I feel as if the civil rights movement, I understand that struggle completely now, being younger. I completely understand how our ancestors felt when they thought they were going forward movement and get the rug snatched from under.
But why is there so much made out of this when a black child can get killed day in and day out? Nobody marches, nobody comes out in the community, nobody cries, nobody raises Cain.
You raise a legitimate point, a legitimate question, because the Trayvon Martin scenario is not a new one within our knowledge within this country, because there are hundreds of Trayvon Martins that die
every
under
day.
Mysterious circumstances every day. A case here recently, there was a young man in New Albany, Ohio, that was stopped by the New Albany Police Department, a resident, on his way to football practice.
Yes, Joe.
And the thing about it is that we should never have any exception to anybody, getting killed. What we should do with the Trayvon Martin verdict is to honor Trayvon Martin and pursue a nationwide moratorium on gun violence.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Now, what do you mean? What does that have to do with stopping any problems in our community?
I know what to do about the problems.
What?
Go ahead, Charles.
Because we have to.
That sounds like President Obama.
Once the emotionalism
President
died,
Obama says you can
yes.
celebrate us by, you can
But
honor
once
him
the
by
emotionalism-
doing it. That's a political response.
But once the emotionalism died down, we still got a lot of work to do, because all across this country, black youth are getting killed every day in record numbers. When Trayvon Martin was killed, black youth was killed. When the verdict came down, some black youth were killed right here in this
But if you want to know what to do about black in your backyard crime, then as mothers, sisters, and daughters, we must stop not snitching. We have to tell on our fathers, cousins, brothers, uncles who we know are doing this killing.
All right. 6 women set him free. Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. 6 female jurors in the George Zimmerman trial, apparently none of which were African American, concluded Zimmerman acted in self-defense in killing Trayvon Martin. Did they get it right or did they get it wrong? Joining us are TalkTainmentRadio.com hosts Irv Jallow and Charles Traylor, and Reverend John Coates, Executive Director of Ohio Right to Life. Did they get it right or did they get it wrong? And 6 female jurors, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, what the heck was the prosecution doing?
I don't know.
Were they in cahoots?
Well,
how did that go down?
You raised a great question that I also raised.
I like the word cahoots.
Okay.
You raised a great question, because when I saw the way they prosecuted this case, Khari,
Well, prostituted,
I like the first word.
It was a Freudian slip.
I come to the same conclusion that you came to, is that either the prosecution was woefully incompetent or they was in cahoots.
Or purposely incompetent.
Purposely incompetent, yes, because they helped the defense. The defense didn't win this case. The prosecutor handed them the case.
I still have a lot to learn. I am of another generation. And so for me, when I thought, okay, they got 6 women, all right, we're emotional. Some of them had children. So I'm thinking
What makes you think that women were going to be more... See, that's a
emotional.
stereotype.
But emotional, we are emotional. We operate off of emotion.
That's
we do.
stereotypical. Who told you that a woman was going to be more compassionate than a man in that situation?
I'm not saying compassion, but I'm thinking emotion. I said emotional. We're more emotional. We operate off of our emotion. That is a fact. And so from that...
Reverend, you say that.
With children.
Reverend, don't be accused of being a sexist now. I'm watching how you're going to walk this line.
It is a stereotype. And that's what happens in the process of jury selection. The jurors are profiled. Okay? And they pick jurors based on what they believe how a juror may react. Because my question is, how did they end up with an all-female jury?
People allow 6 women? Did they think that these women were going to be more sympathetic?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And you at the crux of it. They thought these women were chosen because of their compassion as mothers.
Right, as
because
mothers.
5 of them were mothers. But they weren't chosen for their compassion.
No.
Didn't they see Zimmerman as their protector?
Obviously, I missed that, but that's what I see now.
I mean, somebody had to protect a gated community. Wasn't that community gated?
They saw him as an agent. They saw him as an agent that was guarding the community. And you make a very good point there. They saw him as an agent.
And so they saw him as their protector.
Yes.
That's why it came out.
Why would you give up your protector?
But you raise another large question about what type of protector. We don't really know what a neighborhood patrolman is. Did he have a contractual relationship with the gated community? Did he represent some other type of organization? Was he quasi-law enforcement? We don't know.
How did the prosecution lose this case? What did they do wrong, Reverend Coates and
They allowed the case to be tried at the point of the struggle and not at the point that George Zimmerman...
Meaning what?
Meaning that George Zimmerman... This case should have started at the point that George Zimmerman got out of his vehicle and started following Trayvon Martin and didn't follow the instructions of the police.
After receiving instructions from the police department, do not pursue him.
I agree.
What's going to happen now? The African-American community, typically, Reverend Sharpton is now calling for demonstrations in 100 cities. You got the March on Washington coming up. Everybody's doing what they normally do. Is this the most effective response, Reverend Coates?
I don't believe it should be. In reform, if we want reform and want to see something happen, we have to make that whatever happens.
What should we want out of this?
Well,
what should we want out of this?
All these demonstrations are a concerted effort to put pressure on the Justice Department.
To do what?
To bring civil rights trials.
You're talking about civil charges.
Civil charges.
That's what this is
Well,
all
the
designed to do.
president said he wasn't going to push it. At least that's
No,
one
president's
report
not
I
going to get
saw.
involved he said he's not going to get involved. But Eric Holder, the Justice Department, the
Whoa,
wink,
whoa,
wink,
whoa,
the wink,
whoa,
wink,
whoa,
the wink,
whoa.
wink
Wait a
nod
minute,
has already went out.
wait a minute. The president's not going to get involved with that, but he can get involved with gay marriage. He can get involved
knew
with
he was going
reform for immigration. He can get involved with everything else. Why is he staying away from this African-American issue?
Aggressively.
He's not staying away from it.
Whoa, yes, he is. If he's not gonna get involved.
The president may have said that protecting Skip Gates was enough. Okay.
Well, he already
the beer
president
summit.
already
I think
knows
it
Is
was
he the
called.
first, second, or fourth, or fifth African-American president?
But
You know,
everybody knows.
every time an African-American issue comes up, he hightails it.
But everybody
It's
knows that the
ridiculous.
Justice Department is going to bring federal civil rights violations.
I think what should happen is when this thing came down and the standards board was announced, and these are standards that the black community should live by, I believe that every major city should have been on standby, waiting to receive through fax, air pigeon carrier, however, those standards list so they could add to it or they could subtract it and implement it in every black community
So now we're
across the
going to
world.
see March, March, March. Okay. And then that's supposed to put pressure. To do what? To eliminate the stand your ground law? What's the
It's a good
purpose?
question. The black community needs to target enemies that we know that are there, people that act contrary to our best interest. And that includes...
Should we stop buying products from Florida?
Absolutely.
We have,
Absolutely.
What do we do?
We have economic strength through what we purchase. We have voting power because we represent a large voting bloc in several cities. But we must do more than vote. We have to hold the people accountable.
Oh, Lord, I'm so tired of that.
But it's so
I'm
true.
so
But you can't cut off your nose.
These cliche
Because it's still true.
But you can't cut
It's
off your
still
nose.
true.
But you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. I really believe that we should take this opportunity, this moment in time, to bring about some meaningful change first in our own community.
Like what?
Standards.
Whoa. Like what?
Standards of
Living.
Of behavior and conduct.
Well,
in our
we have,
community.
some people have called for standards of thought, speech, and action.
Absolutely.
Has to be implemented.
Absolutely.
You go along with that, Earth Joe?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because then if you take pride and value your own life and how you represent yourself and your ethnic background, then everybody else will also respect you and value you.
Now, wait a minute. To take that position, aren't you saying that Trayvon was not a victim, that he was a perpetrator? Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that we as a black community have not shown that we value our own lives.
Whoa, wait a minute. Reverend Coates,
We
is
just
that
talked
true?
about the killing in your own
Mothers
backyard.
certainly value the lives of their children.
That's not where we're here. That's not where we are here.
No, I don't know if parents really value the
better
lives
talk
of their
about it.
children either. I look at the abortion rate in our community. African American women, 8% of the population in Ohio, but yet suffer nearly 40% of the abortions. No one's holding a gun to
You
black
had to
women
get that
since-
in, didn't
Oh,
you?
Had
yes,
to get it
because
in.
it's true. It's true.
Had to
And
get
it's
that
a
in.
crisis that exists within our community. I don't think it's valuing our children when we allow them to walk
Charles
out of
Taylor
the door.
says that
and
Charles
their
Taylor's
pants clear
mothers
off of
have a
their
right to
behinds.
choose.
Mothers,
That's what
yeah,
Charles
mothers
Taylor
have a right
said.
to choose.
I don't
He
believe
doesn't see that
that
as genocide.
I don't
The mother has
believe
right to kill.
that we value our young people and they don't value their lives when every day, one of them is taking another
But you know
life.
what? But you know what? I think that the standards and the values piece have to be well thought out, and we have to understand that people at certain levels in their life value certain things today, and then tomorrow they value something else.
Well, they could catch up.
It's a moving target.
Well, they got to catch up because we don't have time to wait.
All right. Do the lives of black people have value in America? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. I'm Khari in Harl. It took 44 days for Zimmerman to be arrested for killing Trayvon Martin, leaving the impression that the lives of African Americans, especially African American males, do not matter in Florida and America. Joining me are TalkTainmentRadio.com hosts Earth Jallow and Charles Traylor, and the Ohio Right to Life Executive Director, the Reverend John Coates. Reverend Coates, African American males, are they a disposable population?
Well, apparently to some people, we are. To some groups, we are. And that group may also include ourselves.
Do you really think,
African-American
black
males are
people,
killing
wait a
each
minute,
other.
do you really think black people do not value the lives of other black people, especially the males of the population? Do you really believe that?
I don't believe that's true with the vast majority, but there's enough violence that's taking place within our community and enough bad behavior that's taking place where that argument can be made.
But Irv Jallow says we don't. She is a fervent believer that black people don't value other little lives of black people. Am I correct, Irv?
Yes,
You've said that many times.
Show me something different.
What do you want? You want evidence?
I want evidence.
Mothers love their sons.
I'm not talking about that. I want to stop seeing black men dead in the street.
Brothers love their sisters.
Not when they're
That's
dead
evidence.
in the street. No.
Am I right, Charles?
You can
Graham?
love somebody.
You know, this is just not.
They're dead in the street.
This is just not germane to African Americans. You can go all through history, and even in the Middle East right now, the ethnic cleansing and all of the killing of people of the same race. I mean, it's not just black folks killing black folks.
But that's what we're concerned about,
is she
right?
incorrect in that position?
In terms of
don't be dancing like James Brown.
Right,
Did you see him come out,
In terms of not,
That was a preacher study.
not valuing life, there are some segments of every culture that have this.
Charles, that's a long way around. No, that's a road to nowhere. Is she correct or incorrect?
To a degree.
To what degree?
That in our community, there are some who don't value life as much as others.
She said black people in general.
That's a broad
do not
brush.
value-
That's
what she
broad.
said.
It's broad.
She probably should want to drive. She probably want to walk back.
You want to back away from
What?
that?
No. What I have seen,
wanna walk back a little
and
bit.
what I'm
She
seeing,
ain't.
what I am seeing
She isn't.
with
I'm
the
sorry.
young people,
She is.
with the young people, is that they are not placing value on life. It's material value that they place the highest value on. Whether it's Jordan shoes, whether it's iPhones,
And the bling.
whether it's the bling, whether it's your cars and the spinning wheels. Value is not placed on black life.
But I think that you should say some.
Now,
Value is
the
not
question-
placed on black
The question
life.
becomes, if Earth's scenario is correct, if her thesis, if her premise is correct, that black people don't value each other, then why should other people value black life?
Talk about it.
Huh?
Well, because of the image that's put out through the general media of African Americans is a negative image. It's a negative image, but I think that
Even when other Africans come here, they are told to stay away from black people
Yes,
in
they are.
America.
Yes,
we
they
hear
are.
that from Somalis all
Yes,
the
they
time.
are.
We hear that from black people from India
we hear,
all the
we
time.
hear from white people.
They go,
They are told to stay away. Why?
they
Why?
go to those Jewish centers and they show them a video of African Americans gang banging African Americans, in the worst light that you can possibly.
Is that a
It's-
false image?
no,
Is
it
that
a-
a false? Wait, whoa. Is it a false? Are all African Americans
Not
involved
all.
in gang banging?
Not
Is
all.
that a false image?
That's a false image.
All right, so that image has to be corrected,
Absolutely.
does it not?
And the
What
small-
must be done to correct that image?
Well, we have to take responsibility
Absolutely.
for correcting that image. Again, it starts at home, and we cannot rely on the benevolence of white media
Others.
per se,
Poor
and others
parents. Poor parents. You put everything on, that's an easy scapegoat. Everybody wants to beat up on the parent. When the parent tries to take control, the the Children's Services, they come in and spank your hand.
Beat them down
put
anyway.
The child in,
Beat the
put
child down
parent in
anyway.
jail.
We doesn't mean parent, we means community. We means community. Our community, our churches, our schools, our businesses, we have to take on the responsibility of putting the new image, a correct image of African Americans.
Charles
out.
Taylor, what's the correct image? Give me the correct image.
The correct image is that every man and woman in our community must stand up and adhere to a certain standard that we all grew up under. We all grew up under these standards.
Time to bring standards back.
Time to
Then
bring standards back.
if
Yes.
he's talking about us standing up, then we better get up off our knees.
There's a standards board that's being created, and I'm sure all of you are going to have input into it. Is this step number one? Is this the way to go?
It's a
to
good
get
step.
the thing right back like it should
It's a
be.
step.
It's a step.
It's a step, and it's something that hasn't been done before, and it's
Why
about
is it
time.
necessary,
Because
Jello?
it's about time for us to change what we've always done and do something new.
And get out of this protracted struggle
And
of
get-
always starting over.
And get up off of our knees. When nobody told us to get up off our knees yet, it's time to get up.
black life does matter.
Yes, it
certainly.
does.
Certainly.
Then why isn't
Absolutely.
that preached from the pulpit every Sunday?
I preach
Why
it.
isn't that talked
I
about
preach
in
it.
the classroom
Reverend Traylor
every day?
preaches it.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why isn't it done?
Because we don't have
constantly?
our own. Once we implement and get our own schools, our own grocery stores, and our own neighborhoods, and our own hospitals.
Oh, don't go there with the schools. Now,
I'm
we got
just
our own
saying.
school.
Right.
You got a black superintendent of schools.
We don't
you
have our own schools.
Black board of
No,
education. What are you
we don't
talking
have
about?
our own
That's
schools.
your own school. You
No,
got a black
no,
what you
Had
talking
a
about?
black superintendent.
Yeah, you better get it together.
Well,
no, we don't have our own schools.
The thing that, you know, I think that what we have to do is we have to work within the framework of these United States of America, and I'm kind of hesitant to begin to talk and come across as want to be separate. I think that we always wanted to be equal.
Separate but equal.
Irv, what are you saying? What is the next steps that we have to take now? After Trayvon, what?
This standards piece is the best thing that I have seen come out of this not guilty verdict, and I think that we should try in every city to implement this standards piece.
What will it do if implemented correctly?
If implemented correctly, it will help us to change our mindsets. It would help us to value each other. We don't have any standards
Man in the
right
mirror,
now.
Reverend Coates, is it time to make that change?
It starts with the man in the mirror.
Man in
Thank
the
you,
mirror.
Michael Jackson. So that
Time to make that
it's
change?
It's time to
Yes.
make that change. Ron Karenga tried it back in the late '60s with the Nguzo Samba,
Exactly.
through Kwanzaa, through the principles of that.
Of Kwanzaa,
Now
yep.
we need to revisit it, put a new paint, new
And
brush on, new
if
siding.
you want to change the way a person acts, you got to change the way they think.
Absolutely.
And that's number one. Then you got to change the language.
Yep.
All right. Great. I appreciate you. More taxpayers' money for a scandal-plagued school system? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. The citizen panel unanimously recommended that 9.00 new mills be put before Columbus School District voters in November 2013. Is this the right time for a school levy with the Columbus schools under a cloud of state and federal investigations for data rigging and grade changing? Joining me in this segment is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Charles Traylor, Irv Jallow, and the Reverend John Coates. Listen, Charles Traylor, you've really been involved in education for a long time.
Yes, sir.
First of all, who is this citizen panel?
You know,
Who's on it?
we don't
The
even know
mystery
who,
panel.
who's on it.
Wait.
Stephanie's
Who's on
on
it?
it.
You know, and who's on it? It's the same thing with the mayor's commission on education. How many of them live in the district?
Right.
So what you're gonna do is vote for me new taxes, and you don't even live in the district.
So
you
you
don't
won't
have
be
to pay the
paying.
taxes that you tell me I should pay.
Taxation without representation.
Without colonialism.
It's tyranny.
Should the community oppose this levy?
Yes, they should oppose
Why?
this, Larry, because first of all, number one, they had another panel that came out and said Columbus Public Schools don't need a levy. What they need is to trim some fat. And secondly, you got a school system that's in a data rigging scandal, the possibility
Grade
of
changing,
possibility of criminal convictions coming out of this. Why not wait until the legal
Right.
process runs its course?
until it clears
Right.
the air.
Until it clears the air.
Was a deal cut with John Kasich on this, between the mayor and John Kasich?
Without
I just saw
without-
what Kasich said.
Without that, Casey signed that legislation that mandate that the Columbus City Schools put a levy on the ballot with the blessings of the mayor's education commission.
John, you're a big-time Republican leader. John, yeah, you think I call you out. But I mean, nothing wrong with it. But John Kasich and Mike Coleman, what's up with that?
Well, that's for those of you that see political parties. Other people see money as a dictating party. So apparently they have some common interest as well. But
Is this part of the corporate takeover?
But first of all, when you look at a public school system, you need to realize that you're looking at a multi-million-dollar, if not billion-dollar
Yes.
entity that does big business
Enterprise.
with big businesses as well. So what's at stake in the school system is contracting with major companies and with opportunities for smaller companies as well. So who knows?
Should the community support this levy?
No.
Why?
Because, first of all, the economy is hurt right now.
Right.
Homeowners are hurting. Citizens are hurting right now. Can the average homeowner of a $100,000 house plus
Pay almost $400
pay
more.
almost
Right.
$400
I can tell you
extra
that.
dollars a year? And that's what people are going to vote with their pocketbook.
Yeah.
And my prediction is that it will fail. It will fail. It will
Earth,
fail.
will the women of the community
No.
be pushed to support this, and will they support
We're
it?
not going to support that.
Why not?
Because our children are not getting the passing grade that they deserve. They're not getting the type type of education that they deserve.
But the citizen panel said this is necessary.
No, it's not.
They're going to set up a charter school, Charles
Well,
Trailer.
what-
They're going to do all these
what's gonna make
fantastic things.
What's going to make this levy a real hard
Yeah,
levy?
share money with the charter schools.
What makes levies in Columbus City schools pass as opposed to suburbs is that you got a wide swath of parents and students that live in public housing, apartment complexes, and so the vast majority of them,
Are non-homeowners.
Are non-homeowners.
Yeah, but they pay rent. They pay rent, and anytime your taxes go up as a
Yep.
property owner, that rent is going to go up.
Eventually.
So you
Exactly.
still are
yeah.
victimized
But they
anytime
don't
there's an
understand. Some of
increase.
them don't understand that piece.
Or they'll understand it when that rent
Right, when that
increases.
rent increased
So
$200.
Earth Jallo, what is your position? I don't think I heard you say, do we support this levy or do we
We
oppose
do
it?
not support this levy.
Why?
Because our children are not getting quality education.
They
Why
need
would you
more
continue
money
to
to
do
run
that?
the system
They
more
don't,
effective.
we
You
don't
don't
have
wanna
we
give
don't
them more
have
money.
we don't have books for every student. Every student is not getting a decent lunch. We got to start from the bottom. We got to scrap all this and start from the bottom.
So the message you're sending, Charles Trailer, to the mayor and the committee and Governor John Kasich is what?
Get out of the school business.
Exactly.
What do you mean get out?
Get out of school business. Columbus City schools don't need a takeover. They need a makeover.
Wow.
I'm with him on that.
Reverend Coach, you too?
But a makeover, yes, we do need a makeover, but a makeover is not an easy process.
That's true.
All
It's
right.
not an easy process.
All right,
Start
we
with
got
the
a lot to
curriculum.
talk about. We're going to be talking about this for a while. Thanks for joining us on Khari Free at Last on Bounce 23 TV. We'll see you next time.